some pretty, wild things by my estimation, like, judge allowed, an AI created, victim impact statement from a person who had been killed. So that the attorney took, footage like home video footage, Facebook footage, whatever, of a person that was no longer with us. They wrote a script for that, avatar essentially to read. And somebody made a victim impact statement from beyond the grave. I think that's pretty out there, but judge allowed it and it happened in court. So, that's a big one.
Dan Doskey leads the video division at Legal Graphic Works, a litigation support company founded in 2010 that has grown from 2 employees to nearly 38. The firm started when its founder, an architect by trade, kept getting asked by attorneys about his presentations, and that accident turned into a full suite of services: trial graphics, animations, settlement documentaries, jury consulting, court reporting, hot seat trial support, and nurse consulting. Dan spent 15 years in television before crossing into litigation support, and what makes this conversation particularly relevant is his view from a seat most people don't think about. He's not the attorney. He's the person making sure the jury actually understands the case. We talk about the AI caution that keeps him up at night, including a real case where a judge allowed an AI-generated victim impact statement from a deceased person, why settlement documentaries are one of the most underused tools in litigation, and what happens to a legal services company when trial work shuts off overnight like it did during COVID. Let's dive in. Hi, welcome back to the Main Street AI Podcast. This is Stephen Whittier with Satori Coach IO, and today I'm joined by Dan Doskey of Legal Graphic Works. Dan, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate it.
Excellent. So this is one of our episodes where we're going to be in a legal adjacent service. So go ahead and give us a high-level overview of what you do with your company.
Sure. So Legal Graphic Works was founded in 2010, basically through sort of happenstance. Our founder, Jim Lucas, was an architect by trade, and Jim did like land use presentations and things like that. And it got attorneys started asking him about its graphics and about the presentations they made. And that turned into Legal Graphic Works. So here we are, 16 years later, we've gone from 2 employees to almost 38, and we have multiple lines of service, but all in support of litigation. So myself, I lead the video side of our team. That could be anything from basic daily video like depositions and medical exams through documentary films for catastrophic injury cases. We have a graphics team that does animations, timelines, PowerPoints, any kind of complex graphics that help distill things down for a jury. We have a trial team that's mostly hot seaters, if you know what that term is, but basically going into court to make sure that all of these beautiful presentations actually, land with the jury and the technical show in the courtroom runs well. We have a jury consulting team that does mock trials and focus groups and gets lawyers a lot of valuable information. And then we also do court reporting and nurse consulting. So a lot of stuff has happened, over these last 15 years. But all in support of attorneys and their needs for litigation.
Yeah, it's really interesting how that came about. That's a pretty cool backstory. What is nurse consulting, by the way? I'm not familiar.
So when there's a medical case or somebody gets presented with something, like let's say your loved one was in the hospital and you felt like, gosh, it didn't really go right, and you might want to hire an attorney to help with that. Somebody has to look at those medical records and determine, all right, well, this actually was within standard of care and everything was okay. Or no, actually, this wasn't done right. That wasn't done correctly. Look at this. This medication was administered, twice the dose that it should, whatever the problem could have been. So those nurses are, invaluable because, attorneys know obviously the law, but not medicine. So those nurse consultants help in that way.
Right. And do you have a particular niche? I mean, obviously it's litigation, but there's a number of different law areas that litigate. Do you have a particular niche or size of business that tends to be your normal customer?
Not really. I mean, we do serve clients. There's a lot of civil cases. So, but we have, very large defense clients and very large plaintiff clients all around the country. Different markets can be a little bit different. So we have our headquarters are here in West Palm Beach, Florida, but we also have physical offices in Jacksonville, in New Orleans, and in Chicago. and those markets can be different. So like in Louisiana and Texas, there's a lot of oil and gas based litigation, a lot of maritime, just because of all the work out on the rigs and the Gulf and things like that. Here in South Florida, the, plaintiff work might be more like car accidents and things like that. But, there's no particular client that we serve. Jim likes to say, if you're a lawyer, we can help you in some way. And that's probably true.
Great. So speaking of that, when I'm talking to attorneys, I like to often ask, what would be their advice for their potential clients? Because there's always things that the client wouldn't know. And sometimes attorneys wish that they knew before they consulted the attorney, or it could be maybe they've simply, one of the advices that often comes up, depending on the area of law, is, you shouldn't have waited so long. And so they'll give some advice around that. So for a service like yours, where you're actually dealing with law firms, what would your advice be to the firms about the types of services you provide? Any sort of education there around what you do?
All right. Well, my trial guys would definitely want me to say, you shouldn't have waited so long, right? There's a lot of things that go into a trial calendar with, dockets and again, every market, every jurisdiction is different as to how they like to do things. Sometimes, months in advance when you're going to go, and sometimes you don't know exactly when you're going to go, when you invest money and all that. But, getting somebody who's qualified, working with your team well in advance of when it's like panic time or go time is really important. That's definitely a big thing. And then also, there are a variety of things that can help you think outside the box or, get cases handled before they go to trial. So one of the services that we provide that my team specializes in is called the settlement documentary. That's a video that's designed to basically let the defense know, we have really good clients with a great story and we need to settle this case. It shows that they're committed to and involved in the case to that level. So tools like that, a lot of attorneys may not even think about, but can be very powerful in getting cases resolved.
Great. Now I'll swing over to our core theme here, which is the basically the impact of technology, specifically AI, on the legal domain. So from your side of the fence, as a legal service, what sort of impacts and trends are you seeing with AI right now in the industry?
I think the biggest thing is people don't know what to do or, where it's going. I think we have a certain comfort level with it because we've been using, services that you'd classify as artificial intelligence for more than 2 decades, when it comes to, processing, depositions, videos, getting those transcripts synced to video. All of that process has been, an automated and artificial intelligence process for a long, long time. So, we're not, scared of it, if that's probably not the right word, but that's the word I'll use. We're comfortable with it, and we know that it's got limitations. I think that there are definitely some very slippery slopes that people aren't even thinking about, and it's important for firms and everybody to have a plan for what you're doing, and also give some direction to your employees because they can do things without even realizing it that could really put your firm at risk. So I think that's very important.
Right. Are there some specific use cases aside from, you just mentioned the processing depositions and video editing, so kind of on the creative side? Are there any other applications that you're using it for right now in the business?
Yeah, so we also do, commercial video production. And sometimes like in those documentaries, you need, something that you don't have and you can't get, like a scene, an intersection, something like that. So it can be very, very helpful, in doing that. But you have to be careful. It's not evidence, right? It's a demonstrative exhibit or something that, is going to be shown like at a mediation, bringing something into a courtroom in a trial as evidence. You have to be really, really careful with that. There are some tools that, as great as they are, will actually change fundamental aspects of an image or a voice or something like that. So we really don't ever get into, using those tools so much on the litigation side of things, because it's just, you can change something without realizing that it got changed, and then you're really in a heap of trouble.
So you had mentioned, some of the cautions around AI for law firms. Are there any particular instances of that you've seen specifically, or is that more sort of just a general observation?
It is a general observation, but we've certainly heard of, briefs, motions, people using it to write those things. And I think, conscientious firms are putting guardrails or guidelines in place, like, okay, it's okay to use for this, but not for that. And then, I think the judges are definitely very, attuned to it and want to make sure that what's being put in front of them is accurate. Certainly heard of cases being cited that were not real.
That's the big one, right?
A case citation, right? But then also some pretty, wild things by my estimation, like, a judge allowed an AI created victim impact statement from a person who had been killed. So that the attorney took, footage, like home video footage, Facebook footage, whatever, of a person that was no longer with us. They wrote a script for that, avatar essentially to read. And somebody made a victim impact statement from beyond the grave. I think that's pretty out there, but judge allowed it and it happened in court. So, that's a big one. I think one thing that impacted me, and it wasn't, my idea or anything like this, but, we had somebody on who's an IT person, and they said, your employees could upload a confidential document to, one of the AI services to try to get help with something. And now that confidential document essentially is owned by that, AI provider. So that type of thing is really, really, something to watch out for too.
One of the big things we talk about a lot is privacy. Obviously, when you talk about law and medicine, you have to be very, very careful. And I still think it's changing rapidly, but there's plenty of attorneys that are still kind of thinking of AI just in terms of going to the public LLMs and not realizing how big of a consideration that privacy is when it comes to feeding those public LLMs.
Right. And they may not even be, it could be an employee who's like, oh, I'm just going to jump on Chat GPT. Yes. Yeah. They're not logged in on the firm account. They're just, using it as a tool, trying to be efficient, but there's definitely some risk there.
Absolutely. On the flip side, what would you say that for where things are moving, which they're moving very rapidly, right? It's definitely here and it's not going anywhere. What would you say that you're most positive or excited about for kind of the future of where things are trending?
Well, I think certainly everybody gets excited about the elimination or being able to pass off some of those, tedious tasks, right? Whether it's scheduling stuff or organizing things. I'm a creative person. My background's in video. So, like when I look at spreadsheets and things like that, I glaze over and start to zone out. It's not my thing. But, so any of those types of tasks that certainly, computers can do better than people, I think everybody will embrace. So that's exciting. But again, I always with it, a little bit of a dose of caution to go back and check the work and make sure everything's the way it should be.
Yeah. So now I'll pivot back over to the company a little bit more. What would you say that you do exceptionally well at the company that maybe sets you apart from other service providers in your same area?
So our biggest thing is customer service. We want everybody to feel a one-on-one connection. When you call us, you'll get a human being on the phone. We're a mid-sized company in our space. We're beyond just our local market. But in some cases, we're going up against national companies that will literally provide coverage anywhere. Now they may call us to actually have boots on the ground to provide that coverage. But that's who we're going up against. It can be very frustrating to contact those companies and try to get somebody who knows you, knows about your case, knows what's going on. That doesn't happen with us. We have a good sized team, but everybody has those go-to people that they can talk to. People have my cell phone number. Just got a call from an attorney this morning that needed some help with something. I'm picking up the phone personally, whether it's during work hours or not. So that type of customer service and that, one-on-one interaction, I think is really the big differentiator for us.
So when you talk to your law firm clients, is that typically the type of feedback that you get when they're giving you feedback about the service? Is it really that level of attention and accessibility that you hear from them?
Yeah, it's that personal connection. They know that they're dealing with Dan, or they're dealing with somebody else, whoever their contact person is at the company. They get to know that person, and we know all the ins and outs of what they need, the ins and outs of their cases. So it's that's a big thing when it's important. It's really, there's a lot on the line for everybody when you're talking about a legal case, not just the attorneys themselves and their business, but obviously their clients too. So having a person that can trust, you can call when there's an issue, I think is a big deal.
I'm sure that necessarily leads to a lot of repeat business with the same clientele.
We do have a lot of loyal clients, and we love them, but we're also always looking for more too.
Right, absolutely.
Yep.
So speaking of that, in terms of growth, you said been going since 2010. What growth stage would you say that the company is in right now, and what is the target for the next 12 months or so?
So I'm not a business expert, so I don't have any perfect terms, but like I said, I think we're a medium-sized company in terms of, our space. And we'd like to continue to grow into markets where it makes sense for us. We've acquired a couple of companies over the years. We acquired a medical illustration company. That's how we ended up with a physical office in Jacksonville. Things like that. We acquired a litigation support company in Chicago, and that's how we have a physical office in Chicago, although that was a market that we had some clients in. So that's worked very well. So that allows us to continue to provide that personal boutique service in those markets, and at the same time grow our reach around the country. So I think when those opportunities present themselves to expand into another market, those are the growth opportunities that we look for. And then also lines of service. So started out as just graphics, then we started doing video, and we started doing trials, and then court reporting, and the jury consulting and the nurse consulting. So all those things have come on over the years, and I think also have been very important to our success because, for example, when COVID hits and the trial business literally shut off like a faucet because no one was going into the courtroom or doing anything, those other lines of business helped us, survive that time.
Absolutely. That makes sense. So you see a lot of your growth is with the brand extensions of these different services.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great. And then my question, I usually frame as a magic wand question. So if you could wave a hypothetical magic wand and fix one challenge to growth or any sort of constraint, what would that be?
I think the biggest thing is we all want to get better at finding the right people quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. It's, the team is the most important thing to us, and the culture at our company. And so that's a challenge. It probably always, will be a challenge, but whittling down through candidates or, going right to the right person, and having them be a great team member from day one. That's probably the thing that I would want. That's the one that I would want. Like, give me a great team member. Bing.
It's amazing how often that one comes up. It really is. Seems to be a universal. Culture is so important, especially when you're operating a boutique type of a service. Dan, where I like to kind of wrap is always asking like a human question because we're talking about numbers and we're talking about services and we're talking about robots with the AI. But in terms of the human element, what would you say is your big personal why for what you do as a professional?
Yeah, so I just got bit with the television bug when I was 8 or 9 years old. Always wanted to do that. Went to a university that had a great, broadcast journalism program, and then worked in television for 15 years before I started doing litigation support. So, it's just always was a passion, still is a passion, love, to, get creative and use my mind in that way. And so that's a big thing professionally, but also the reason that I've been at Legal Graphic Works 13 years myself. And the reason is because of that culture. And a big part of it is not just how we work, but also, the care, that Jim, our founder, has for us as people and wanting us to have a life outside the office. Worked a lot of places. Everyone says that. It's hard to do it when the rubber meets the road and it's like, hey, I want to leave early and go to my son's baseball game. And he's like, yeah, go. Like, of course.
That's fantastic.
It means it. So that's why I stay here, and why I love this place. But why I do the work that I do. It's just still a passion of mine to go out and create things.
Fantastic. So for any firms that are interested in learning more, what would be the best way to contact you?
Sure. So we're all, available on legalgraphicworks.com. That's legal graphic singular, works plural. So a nice long name there, legalgraphicworks.com. But that's the best way to reach us. All of our emails are there. And then once you get in touch with us, and of course a 1-800 phone number and all that good stuff. But once you get in touch with us, our cell phones are on our email signatures. So we really want to be accessible. So we're not hard to find.
Excellent. Very good. And I'll make sure to put that in the description as well. So thanks so much for today. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure. It was a lot of fun. Thank you, Steve.
Take care.